the Kentuckian who I think matters a great deal to me. He is one of my heroes. He is, as you, I hope many of you know, a famous poet, essayist, novelist. Has turned out a great body of beautiful literature, and all to a kind of point. He is, I would call, an agricultural reformer. And he is concerned about a lot of the trends in our country where we have, in our rush into the postmodern world with continual reform in our technology and our science, we may have left behind some very important values that are key to a full human life. And that's what I want to talk about today. I am imagining for you Wendell talking to a group of governor's scholars from Kentucky. I hope you know of that program. It's a program for outstanding high school students in their senior year or in the summer before their senior year to take small classes on topics of great interest to themselves. And it seemed to me it would be very appropriate for a class of this kind to go to visit Wendell at his home and to hear and exchange ideas with him. And therefore, I'd like to have some of your response to what I have to say. I might also note that Wendell is 80 years old, or he will be 80 years old this year. I don't want to rush him. He has been living in his current home for a long number of years, and his original home is in very close proximity. They're both in the community of Port Royal, or in that area of Henry County, which is right on the Kentucky River, not far from the confluence with the Ohio. So that's the home that I'm inviting you to. I have this as a security, but it's a little cool, but I'm going to rough it. So, at any rate, I'm happy to have you all here today because for me, you represent a kind of the future of Kentucky. And I know that you're at a very important point in your life. You're getting ready to move out into the larger world and kind of find a place for yourself in it. And I'd like to talk to you about things that have been on my mind for a long time, and begin by taking you back to where I was your age and looking forward to the future. I didn't go far from home. As an undergraduate, I went to the University of Kentucky. And I think two very important things in my life happened while I was there. One, I met my future wife, Tanya, who has been a helpmate for me and a help in all my work for all these many years, and we still support each other in our daily lives. And the other is that I got the writing bug. And as a result, I looked for a doctoral program that would be along the lines of my interest. And I found one at Stanford University, and a program run by Wallace Stegner, who was already a kind of hero of mine, a writer who gave great emphasis to the importance of place in people's lives. And Wallace introduced me to a kind of distinction in kinds of people, kinds of Americans. And he called them boomers and stickers. And by boomers, he didn't mean the cohort of Americans born right after World War II. He meant the typical American who is ambitious and career-oriented and willing to go anywhere that career may take him, and trying to operate at the largest possible scale. And so the stickers, on the other hand, are people who fall in love with a particular place and want to stay there as long as they can. And I had an example of a sticker in my own life in the form of my grandfather. My grandfather was a farmer all his life, living on the farm that had been in his family since the War of 1812. And my father, who also inherited that farm, told me a story of when he was a 7-year-old boy. And his father had gathered the tobacco crop to take to market. And at that time, the American Tobacco Company had formed a monopoly over the purchase of tobacco. And therefore, they were giving farmers rock bottom prices so that the farmers could not pay off their debts. And as a result, my grandfather went into debt, and that, of course, had a great effect on my father, who inherited the farm in the 20s when there was a great depression among the farmers. And as a result, he got interested in organizing farmers to pool their crops and sell them for a higher price from the tobacco companies. And because of that interest, he got involved with a man named Virgil Chapman, who was running for Congress here in Kentucky. And my father worked in his campaign, and Chapman was elected, and invited my father to work with him. And my father took advantage of that time to get a law degree, so that for the rest of his life, he was both a small-town lawyer and a farmer. And he was always an advocate for the farmer. And so was my younger brother, John Jr., who also followed my father in getting a law degree, and he farmed. He inherited my father's farm, and he actually ran for the state legislature, and again was an strong advocate for the farmer. So I have the same kind of political concerns that my father and my brother have, but of course my way of working was in the area of writing. My father always attributed to the fact that my mother started reading poetry to me every night when I was 3 years old. And no doubt that did have an influence. Well, after I finished my program at Stanford, I went briefly to Europe on a fellowship, and then took a job at NYU. But while I was at NYU, I realized I wanted to write about Kentucky. And I thought if I lived anywhere else, I would start lying about it. So I looked for an opportunity to come back to Kentucky, and had that when the University of Kentucky hired me to teach creative writing. And I was able to purchase a farm right near my family's farm, which is where we are today. In my novel, A World Lost, I write about myself, actually, as a 9-year-old boy. And I remember, I was swimming one morning by myself, which I was not allowed to do. And I was thinking about a close relative that I'd heard of, who had left the farm, moved to the city, and had got into a whole lot of problems, had taken up alcohol and had a divorce. And suddenly I had this feeling of belonging, of how beautiful everything was and how suited it was for our use. That's the sticker kind of way of thinking. Now, it seems to me that the problem we have with the boomer point of view that is so dominant in America today, we have fewer and fewer stickers. And we need a kind of balance there, it seems to me. Because if we don't have a balance, well, what happens is our sense of community suffers. And a sense of community, where that goes, the things that community are important for also go. Things like the care of the elderly and of the young, family life and neighborly life, and the handing down of memory. All those things are threatened. And our care of the earth and of the nature and of the wildlife, that's all at risk if we lose that sense of community. And it seems to me that central to our sense of community is affection. Now, our schools today, the kind of education you've had, are very good in many ways. But all the emphasis today seems to be on science, technology, engineering, and math. And the arts and humanities, we don't have much time for anymore. But it's the arts and the humanities by which we express our emotions. And if we want to preserve community and a sustainable future for humane living, I think we need to bring those back. And I hope you'll carry that with you as you go into your own exciting adventures in the coming years. And now I'd like to, and I will be writing, I hope, until my dying day. I am an optimist. I see a kind of decline around me right now, but I have a kind of, well, I have both faith in humanity, that they will rally themselves and begin to recall some of the things that they've left behind. And I am also a religious person, and I have hope for God's role